Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by former King of the Cage light heavyweight champion James Lee. James, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
I'm doing good. James, take me back to the beginning. How did you get started in MMA?
Well, I was wrestling in college in the Fair State Cup, the wrestling program. Came home, and there's a kickboxing school that opened up down the street from my house, and I went inside sort of kickboxing, and my instructor linked up with Helson Gracie. Helson Gracie was showing me the old school, Gracie fight tapes, and he told me about this UFC thing they were coming out with in '93. I started in '92 doing jiu-jitsu with him, so I was like, wow, it's pretty cool. So that's how I got started in the sport.
What were some of those early training sessions like? Because a lot of fight camps now, it's more of a science. What was the training exactly like back then?
Well, I mean, pretty much the same thing, man. Jiu-jitsu, wrestling, kickboxing, boxing, it was pretty much the same. I mean, the only difference now, I think, is it didn't have a lot of cages, didn't emphasize wall work, and hadn't quite tweaked jiu-jitsu, and kickboxing for like an MMA specified type of training. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Your first pro fight was in 1999. Did you have an amateur career?
No, actually, that's incorrect. My first pro fight was in 1997.
Oh, well, that's what Sherdog had you down for 1999.
Sherdog didn't exist when I was fighting.
Oh. During that time, if I'm not mistaken, MMA was illegal in Michigan, correct?
Correct.
And
yes.
How difficult was it for you to get fights then?
I wasn't too hard. I was going down to Indiana and fighting in tournaments.
I see.
So, pretty easy.
James, your first career loss was to Vernon White, and then your second career loss was to Dean Lister, both under the King of the Cage banner. What did you learn from those fights?
Well, from the Tiger White fight, I learned not to put yourself in a bad position to gain a position. The third round, I knew he was going to sit back for a heel hook, and I let him sit back and go for a heel hook, thinking I was going to sit up and mount him quickly and pound him out to finish out the third round. I knew I was ahead on the judges' cards, and when he fell back to the heel hook, I didn't get out of it. So that's what I learned in my career is, not to let somebody put you in a bad position to gain a position.
Did those early losses have anything to do with those guys having a little bit more experience than you?
No. I mean, Tiger White, like I said, I was ahead on the cards when I fought Tiger White. There were a lot of... See, what people don't understand is a lot of things that go on behind the scene, man. Like, Tiger White fight, man, how I was in jail in Canada the week before the fight. I went up a weight class, took the fight on like a 3-week notice. So it's kind of hard to train when you're locked up, you know what I mean, stuff like that.
Right.
So, I went through a real bad period of my life at the time. My kid's mother took off my kid, business partner, and I fell out, took a bunch of money from me. It's all that happened within, and I was stuck in Canada during, the around 9/11 time too, where I couldn't get back over the country to train. It was a mess, man.
You won the King of the Cage light heavyweight title when you defeated James Tahuna. How much did it mean to you to be the champion? And it was your second shot at a title because the Dean Lister fight, I think that was for the middleweight title. And now, how much did it mean to you to win the light heavyweight title?
Well, it meant a lot, man. It was like I was cursed, like not ever getting a world title wrapped around my waist. It was tough, But I was ecstatic, man. It was good. Went down to Australia and fought him down there. Obviously Jamie's a tough dude. But no, it was definitely an awesome feeling, man, to finally get that all wrapped around my waist.
When did you start MASH Fight Team?
In 1999.
And I know the difference between MASH Fight Team and MASH Gym, but for the people who don't understand the difference, what exactly is the difference between the two?
If it doesn't say James Lee's MASH Fight Team, it's not real. Basically, there was one of my students and some guys he knew wanted to start up a gym and use the MASH name and have me, teach there. Anyway, I gave a bunch of concessions in the beginning of the relationship, and basically, when it was time for me to get mine, they said they couldn't afford it and had to cut my pay in half, actually. And I'm like, well, we have a contract. That's not what we agreed upon. And they said, well, tough. We're going to keep your name, and we're not going to pay you. I said, okay, well, I'll see you guys in court then. So I left the gym, and they paid me to keep the name. So they're just basically a bunch of posers running around my name.
And this is the reason why you haven't fought since UFC 80, correct?
Well, no, I injured my back really bad in UFC 80.
Yeah.
I was out for about a year with that, and then I had to go through a bunch of legalities because technically my students were members of Nash Gym, and under our contract until it was settled in court, me talking to my own students, training with my own students, would be a breach of the non-compete that was issued in case the judge didn't see things my way. My attorney advised me to stay away from the students and things of that nature for not soliciting them and violating the non-compete, so they would have grounds to countersue me for.
James, who's the best opponent that you've ever fought?
I would have to say Dean Lister.
And what's the best performance of your career? Because some would argue that it was Pride 33 against Travis Few. You submitted him very quickly. And, Pride 33, a lot of people consider that the best card ever.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that as well.
Yeah.
That was a star-studded card, man. The fights were awesome. I had the privilege to be a part of it and, also witness the fights live. So, and then fight along also, the sides of legends, as well. It was the best experience of my life.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal fight card. Then you made the transition over to the UFC. Now, did they inherit your Pride contract? Is that how that came together?
No, not at all. Actually, I really had no desire to ever fight for UFC. I just wanted to fight and be the best. And at that time, I felt that Pride was the best organization, had the toughest fighters, and that's what I wanted to be a part of. They had actually offered me a couple fights before then. I turned them down and stayed with King of the Cage. They were trying to get me on short notice stuff, man. And unfortunately in the sport, the fans and people don't see what goes on behind the scenes. You take a fight, like I took that Pride fight on a 2-day notice. They called me Thursday, I fought Saturday.
Right.
Now, if I would have got my ass beat and I would have been embarrassed on worldwide television, no one would have taken into consideration that I took it on a 2-day notice. People don't care. They don't understand. If you're out of shape, you're out of shape. You get beat up, you're just embarrassed. So I said after that fight, I'm not going to take anything on short notice. They actually offered me a fight against Jason Lambert on a week's notice, and I wasn't in shape. So I decided not to take the fight. And finally, they offered me a fight against Alessio Sakara, and they gave me 3 months' notice, which is, I just wanted a fair shake where I could get in shape for a fight and have a good training camp and have a fair shake at it. Because I'd rather never fight in UFC than to take it and lose to somebody that I know that I'm better than because I beat myself due to cardio and conditioning.
Right. Now, you're not retired, are you? You're still planning on returning, right?
Yes, actually, I already have a fight date set, August 4th, Taylor Sportsplex with the TXP.
That's Joey Battaglia's show, right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah. Okay. James, I was looking at your record, and the thing that stood out to me, I know you said that SureDog doesn't have all your stuff, but I was looking on there, 14 wins, 14 finishes, 4 TKOs or KO, 4 submissions, 13 of them in the first round. Is that the proudest thing of your career, or is it, being King of the Cage champion? What is the biggest accomplishment of your career? Is it that? Is it something else? What?
I would have to say the Pride win would be the greatest accomplishment of my career. Based on the fact that it was a long road to get there. It was a tough, long road to try and get into Pride. And then when I finally did get the call to step to the plate and take care of business in the fashion I did under the circumstances, and also doing it in the biggest and best card and the best organization at the time.
From what I understand, you were trying to get on the UFC 123 card that happened at the Palace. From what I understand, they said that you had been out too long, which doesn't really make sense because Ricardo Almeida had been out of the sport longer than you, and they still brought him back. I don't remember exactly when that was, but how disappointed were you that you weren't on that UFC 123 card?
I wanted to choke Joe Silva. That pissed me off so bad, man. I called Joe up and I asked him, I said, hey, man, listen, I want to fight, in my hometown, man. I'll put down some people in the seats. And his response was, we don't need you to sell it out. Quentin Jackson and Machida will sell out the card. We don't need you for that. Mm-hmm. And I said, listen, Joe, I'm old, man. This will probably be the only time in my life I'll be able to fight in front of my hometown, on this type of stage. By the time you guys come back to Detroit, if you guys ever come back to Detroit, I'll be retired. Put me as a dark match, anything, man. I don't even care, And he said, nope, you've been out of the game too long, and, it was like splitting hairs, man. It's pointless. You can't win. So it was very, very disappointing, man, and then very So I don't know, man. I've seen other guys, like you said, Ricardo Almeida, he was out for 4 years, came straight back to UFC, and other guys have done the same. And them saying that they don't need hometown guys in the cards, but it's real funny. They put hometown guys on all the cards.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. Especially on the undercards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Were you there at the fight?
No, I refuse to go.
No. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Is that your goal? Is that a realistic goal to get back to the UFC? Take a couple fights here and there and then work your way back? Is that realistic for you?
Yeah, well, when I talked to Joe, he said take a fight, and they'd have me back. They didn't care who. So hopefully after this fight, I can go back and make a quick run at it and see what happens, man. I just want one last shake at it. I was injured in my debut. I'm not taking anything away from Lester Sakara. He won the fight, but I just like if I lose, I have no problem with losing. I just like a fair shake, not a problem. Not that it wasn't fair. I mean, we both entered the cage. I lost, but I'd like to go in there with injury free, and if I lose, and if I win, I'll just keep going on a streak, man, and try and go as far as I can, and it's called a career.
Is fighting in King of the Cage, is that still a possibility for you?
That's funny you say that. Actually, no, it's not. Actually, Terry Chopalcock and I just had a falling out a couple days ago.
Really?
So, yeah, we've been boys for very, very, very close friends for a number of years, and basically he said he's banning all Michigan MMA fighters because I'm choosing to fight on the August 4th card.
Really? Because I see the stuff on Facebook. I see, you and him hanging out, and that's why I asked.
Oh, no, we travel together. We go on vacation together. Your wives, girlfriends, friends. It's kind of disappointing, man. He thinks that because I'm the leader of Michigan MMA, that I should wait around and be in the card tentatively set December here in Michigan. And he thinks I should just hold my career off for 4 months on a maybe that he might have a card there and not fight for somebody else. I could see if it was he had a card set maybe a month or two out, but I thought it was pretty jacked up, man. And saying that because I'm doing it, other people are considered doing it, and I'm splitting up the inner circle, and he feels disrespected, and that he's wasting a lot of money trying to keep the Detroit market alive, and he thinks that we should all sit together. And when I've asked his blessings, is it cool for this guy to fight guys that he keeps consistent work for? Was it cool for them to fight on the card? Some he said yes, some he said no. So I felt as though I did the right thing, but I need to progress and move forward with my career. I don't have a lot of time left. I'm old. I'm 38 years old, so it's going to take a long time if I ever have a legitimate shot at winning a UFC title. Hell, I don't want to be trying to fight when I'm 41, trying to have my title fight then. And so it's going to take years to get to that level. So I don't have a lot of time on my side. So hopefully we'll patch things up and get back to being cool. But I didn't like the fact that he's banning all. If he's going to scrap the whole Michigan market and not necessarily the Michigan fighters because I'm choosing to fight on a card.
You train a lot of guys. Who trains you? Who's your coach?
Dave Lester is my boxing coach. Carol Rose, one of my boxing coaches. Ali, Johnny. I have a few boxing coaches. And as far as jiu-jitsu and wrestling and MMA, I don't have a coach. I've always just trained myself with my students. I'll make camp out like at Quest or something like that. Get some working with those guys out there. Brian Harper, one of my training partners, he's the head jiu-jitsu coach out there now, and I'll go out there and make camp. This fight, actually, I'm going to go down to Florida and get some training in with Rashad and get ready for this fight coming up here. But coach, I really don't have. I train with John Toth. He just won the No-Gi Worlds. He's my jiu-jitsu training partner right now. And we show each other stuff, and we always have. So, but yeah, as far as I'm boxing coaches, but other than that, I really don't have any other coaches besides that.
Do you manage the fighters you train? So like Brandon Hunt, Darren Cruikshank, all those guys that you train, you manage them as well?
Correct. I manage the fighters I train as well, yeah. Yeah, what I did after Miles Jury screwed me over, I put everybody on a management contract, no more handshakes and style deals. So it's a shame that people don't have any loyalty in this game, and once they get to a certain level, they stab you in the back and they don't need you anymore, and they're bigger and better than you. So I put everybody on a management contract. I formed a company with two attorneys that are childhood friends. I actually used to babysit them and stuff, and we've been
You touched on the Miles Jury thing, but I was going to ask you, how difficult is it to keep guys with you? Because, a lot of these guys, they see, oh, hey, I'm going to go train at Extreme Couture, I'm going to go to American Top Team, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there. How difficult is it for you to keep these guys around?
It's difficult, man. It's constantly getting slapped in the face. It's like, you spend, what people don't understand is, guys like, Darren Cruikshank, Miles, these are guys that, Ben Lagman, these are guys that I've, took time away from my family. I travel, drive my own car to Wisconsin when they're amateurs, they're taping their hands, time away from my job, my kid, to help these guys get to a certain level. And then once I get them to the UFC, then, hey, I'm going to go train with Jeremy Stevens now, and I'm having another guy manage me. Hey, can you not take a dime of my money, the whole time that, I'm managing them as the early pro part of their career because I'm getting paid a whole lot of money. No problem. Get me later. I'll get you sponsors. I'll get them this, take care of them, get them jobs, pay for my own airline tickets out to corner them, even in the early days as a pro. And then when it's time to get a little bit of recompensation for the time and energy that I put in, I'm not even making money. I'm just getting recompensated a little bit. And they say, I'm good. I'm more over here. I'm going to pay this guy to take care of the rest of my career. Thanks for getting me to the UFC. Take care. So all those years of hard work and building them, developing them, to have them at the end tell you to kick rocks, it's frustrating, man.
James, for the guys who are, just turning pro, is it really difficult to get them fights? Because in Michigan, there's not a whole lot of pro opportunity for some guys who don't really have a big name. And if you go out of state, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for the promoters that are in, California, Las Vegas, because they have all that local talent to deal with. Is it difficult getting a guy who's maybe not known a pro fight?
No, it's not difficult for me, but it is, it's based on relationships, and when you have relationships with promoters and you've been upfront, loyal, and honest, it's relatively easy to get guys fights. They'll do favors for me and get guys work, so it's not too big of a problem. But trying to get a fight here locally in Michigan, obviously there's not a lot of, tour shows here, so it is tough to get guys in a local venue.
Right. James, you're 38 now. How long do you plan on continuing to fight?
I'm going to go back to the UFC, and when that's done, then maybe I'll take a few money fights and then call it a career. So, hell, if I win the UFC belt, then I'll defend it as long as I can, and then go ahead and bow out.
James, go ahead.
It's kind of hard to say. Obviously, the next few years it'll be a wrap on the career, and I'll focus on just training. But it's kind of up in the air. I'm going to push it and take it as long as I can.
James, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you would like to thank? Anything you want to say to the fans?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Dave Lester, Carol, the coaches that I named earlier, training partners, Match Fight Team, the Real Match Fight Team, James Lee's Match Fight Team. I'd like to thank Anger Management, my partners for working with me as much as possible. I'd like to thank the fans of Michigan and all MMA fans, because ultimately this whole sport was built and thrives off of their support. Without people paying to watch it and going to the shows, then MMA fighters can't exist, and I think people don't really realize that. And I'd like to thank all the MMA fighters for having the courage to step into the cage and put it on the line every time. It's easy for armchair fans to sit back and call people bums and things of that nature, but I respect each and every individual who has the courage to put their jobs and families and careers on the back burner and push forward and have the courage to go in there.
James, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it.